Welcome to the Legends Behind the Craft podcast, where we feature top leaders in the wine and craft beverage industry with your host, Drew Hendricks. Now, let's get started with the show.
Drew Thomas Hendricks here. I'm the host of the Legends Behind the Craft podcast, where I talk with leaders in the wine and craft beverage industry. Today's episode is sponsored by Barrels Ahead. With Barrels Ahead, we work with you to implement a one-of-a-kind marketing strategy, one that highlights your authenticity, tells your story, and connects you with your ideal customers. In short, we help wineries and craft beverage producers unlock their story to unleash their revenue. Go to barrelsahead.com today to learn more. Today, we have Bianca Harmon joining us again. She's one of our D2C marketing strategists. How's it going, Bianca?
Going good, Drew. Excited to talk to Matthew today out in Connecticut.
Yes, he's in Connecticut, and it's going to be a shift because lately we've been featuring a lot of winemakers and winery owners on the show. Today, we're shifting our focus back to the B2B side of the industry, specifically three-tier distribution. Today, our guest is Matthew Murphy. Matt is the president of Murphy Distributors. And Murphy Distributors was founded back in 2008 on a vision to become the Connecticut beverage supplier that retailers and restaurants choose to enhance their business success and brand image. Welcome to the show, Matt.
Thank you, Drew. Thank you, Bianca. It's a pleasure to be here.
It's great to have you on. So, Matt, gotta say, so you founded the company back in 2008. What motivated you to found a distribution company?
Well, a little bit of a long story, but I'll try to keep it short or concise for you. When I graduated college, I had these dreams of going into finance, coming back east, working in New York City, Wall Street, hedge fund, that kind of thing. Graduated from the University of Arizona, go Wildcats.
Yeah.
And 2007, 2008.
Excellent time to go in the financial industry.
Yeah, probably not a great time to try to get a job in finance. And so I had recently come off of living abroad. I did a study abroad in Prague during college and ended up staying in.
I did too.
Did you really?
Yeah. I spent 2 months in Prague.
Oh,
around 2001, 2002, but it was awesome at the Economic University.
Yeah. Okay. So absolute beautiful city, great people. The culture's amazing. And so I was between Prague and Brno University. And then I was there for a couple months, then I ended up hanging out, meeting some new friends, and staying in Eastern Europe for a couple more months. Made it all the way out to Turkey.
Oh, awesome.
And the goal at the time was, we were young and dumb, and the goal at the time was, let's see if we can get to the Asian border without taking a plane. And so it took us like 4 months, but we did it. Some wild stories. And then I came back to the United States. But the reason why that's so important is because it really piqued my interest in foreign relations, international business, a little bit at the time of policy and international politics, and culture was like really big. Culture. I met all these amazing people from all over the world. I was very lucky in the program I was in. I was the only American in, I believe. And so I met all these people from all over Eastern and Western Europe. And quite frankly, I spent most of my time in the bar with these guys, where I learned more than I probably ever could. I believe I ever could in a classroom, talking about how they grew up and their currencies and what happened when the euro came in and took over their currency in their country, and, all that kind of stuff. And it was really eye-opening. So when I came back to the United States, I ended up going out abroad again. I actually left University of Arizona and enrolled in college in Buenos Aires, Argentina.
Oh, amazing.
And I spent almost 2 years in South America, a year and a half, a little over a year and a half in Argentina at the university. Same kind of thing, though. But I was living with a bunch of Colombians and Ecuadorians who became some of my best friends in the world. Got to learn Spanish fluently. They didn't speak much English. Learned cultures. It was just really eye opening. Drank a lot of wine down there in Argentina, a lot of Malbec.
Did you
Then I
know
moved to
Spanish
Brazil.
pretty well before you went down there, or did you just take a leap?
I took a leap. I had a friend that said, hey, that I knew from Prague, said, hey, I'm going to go down to South America. I have some friends and family down there. I'm going to fly into northern Brazil, and I'm going to backpack down to Buenos Aires, and I'm going to probably go to college in Buenos Aires. Do you want to come? Yeah.
Wow, backpacking. Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, I was at the airport the next day, basically. And so there I was. I was in Brazil, met really great people. And that's actually where, after I left Buenos Aires, I went back to Brazil. And I went to Natal, which is in the northern part of Brazil. And during that time is when I was like, okay, what am I going to do with the rest of my life? I'm going to go back and get my diploma. I had a semester left of school. Finance didn't look like it was going to be the path at the moment. And so what am I going to do? And so I had a lot of friends that were in the wine industry that I had met when I was in Argentina. I went to Brazil and started dabbling in the spirits and wine and beer industry, and then moved back to Connecticut and said, because finance at this point, once I moved back to the States in the end of 2007, 2008 was done. I said, I'm going to start my own business. Both my parents are entrepreneurs. They both own their own businesses. And so it was a dream that one day I would follow in the footsteps, whether it be in their business or in my own. Okay. And so I started my own import company. I sold my car and I imported a pallet of Malbec and Pinot Noir from a very small estate within the Chavo Ferrer property in Mendoza, Argentina.
How did you go about how did you learn how to get the permits and everything necessary to import?
I was very lucky in that, in Connecticut, in New Haven, there was one guy that did all the permits. And so I didn't have to vet anybody because there wasn't anybody else. And so I took a leap of faith. I gave him a retainer and a couple months later I had my permits. And so when I sold my car and got the money to buy the 2 pallets of wine, I didn't have infrastructure. I was using QuickBooks Free. I didn't have a car at this point either. And I was living at home. And so I bought a beat up Dodge Nitro, and when the wine came in, and just started driving down Route 1, Boston Post Road, or N95, these, and just basically stopping at every restaurant and liquor store I could find, trying to find. Now, mind you, I was an importer at this time, so I was trying to find distributors. So I was going around looking for recommendations on who I could talk to pick up my brands because I was an importer. Everyone laughed me out the door. Every single person. I went to everybody. And everyone, I went to Rhode Island, Massachusetts. I said, okay, I can do it in Connecticut. Let me try Massachusetts. No, I was 22 years old too. I mean,
that's amazing. You're slinging the wine around from store to store
with zero experience. They're like, what is this guy doing? And so that I had this wine and I needed a distributor. So I went back to the legal guy and said, I need a wholesale license now. No one's going to take this wine. I'm just going to do it myself. And that's how it started. Got the wholesale license. And then I started going to every single liquor store I could find around my house and just walking in. Hey, you want to try some wine? Telling my story, how I live there, how I know the guys who made the wine. And then, you sell one case here, then you deliver it the next day. And then you sell another case and you deliver it the next day. And so that's how the business started, with me in the car, one case at a time. I flew out to California 6 months later, tried to pick up some brands, which I did successfully, and then just slowly built the portfolio. And so over the past 14 and a half years, that's what we've been doing, blocking and tackling. The vision, as you described in your intro, is to be the wholesaler of choice in our market. And by choice, I mean the guys that care about our customers' business. We are a small business market. We have a lot of independents here, retail and restaurant. And we almost, when we sit in a sales meeting with my sales guys, I say to these guys, look, we're not liquor salesmen. We are small business advisors. Okay. We use wine and spirits to build our customers' business. So it's our job to understand their market, to understand their consumer, what's working for them, where's their sweet spot. These are the questions we ask. What's moving, what's not moving? And then we try to sell them products that are going to build velocity and margin so that they can enhance their business. That's the belief trickling down, building businesses. Then they have more money in the community. They get to spend more money. They reinvest in the community. It's all small business, people helping people. And that was the vision of the business.
So you have wine and liquor now, it sounds
Correct.
like. And so how many brands are you up to? About
we manage over 2,000 SKUs in the state of Connecticut. About 550 to 600 are what I would deem our general market distribution portfolio. The other 1,500 are private label brands that we've either used as a clearing distributor or developed ourselves, or control brands in the same, and what I would say is a lot of development brands. We do a lot of work with private label distilleries and wineries. So we've got chains that'll come to us and say, hey, I need something to go up against Bailey's, or I need something to go up against Tito's. I want to own the brand. Can you put something together? And so we do a lot of that.
Oh, that's awesome.
So are you primarily East Coast then?
We are, correct.
Interesting.
As far as that whole private label, you mentioned control brands. Is that I'm not familiar with that term.
So the difference in everyone has different lingo. In the way we talk about it is a private label would be like, say, Drew, you said, hey, I want my own vodka. I want to call it Drew Hendricks Vodka. That's your brand. You own it. You do whatever you want with it. You can sell it and do whatever you want. A control brand would be you saying, hey, I need a vodka that is exclusive to me in California. And so that brand might already be produced in other markets, but we would bring it to you and work out an exclusivity deal where you would be the only person to sell it. That'd be more of a control brand scenario.
Yeah. What's sort of I'm a little distant. About 20 years since I've been a wine buyer, but at an independent store. But right then, the private labels were just we were really bolstering it. And I had a little private label business. As far as the margins, how are the margins looking today for retail or getting into the private label game?
So for private label, we try to, our benchmark for private label is to double our customers' money. If they buy it for $5, I want them to sell it for $10. And that's our benchmark. Now, obviously, there are unique situations where someone wants to be, they double it to $21 and they want to be $19.99. So, we deal with it. But that's where I like to start for my customers.
Oh, very, very good. Now, taking a step back, talk to me about the landscape of the distribution in Connecticut.
Yeah, so the landscape is quite unique. It's a little antiquated, but we are starting to come into the modern era a little bit. We are a plethora of independent small business retailers and restaurants. And that's mostly because up until a couple of years ago, you could only have about 3 licenses per permittee per person. And so it really was a barrier of entry for a chain to come in and really establish themselves in the wine and spirit side. That's since changed. I believe it's up to 5 now you can have as a license, but still, it's still a barrier to entry. As the licenses increase, I think the landscape of Connecticut will change with more big box coming in if they actually enhance the licenses. We're also a case one state and a min bottle state. So what that means is there's no messing around with pricing. It's the one case of product for 30 days, a calendar month, has to be the same price whether a customer buys 1 or 1 million of them.
Okay.
Quantity discounts. There's no rips. There's no kickbacks. There's nothing. And you can only change that pricing once a calendar year, once every calendar turnover. So right now we're going to price post on the 1st of July, 4th, August, right? And then so on every month.
I had no idea. So if you buy one case or buy a pallet, it's the same price.
It's the same.
And that's set by the state?
And that is run and regulated by the state, as well as a minimum bottle, which means they even dictate the lowest price that a retailer can sell a bottle of wine or spirit.
Okay.
So so we price post that. It's called min bottle. So we say we as a company use that law to build margin for our customers. There's a lot of others that don't use that. They like a national brand gives less margin than you would an artisanal brand. But for my company, we've always tried to give extra margin to the customer by building in a higher min bottle than anybody else.
And how does that work? Do you have to submit that to the state to say this? We're bringing in this new brand. We're bringing it at this price. Does the state tell you what the minimum price is, or you set it?
We price with the state. Yeah, the state just basically says it can't be priced lower than our cost. We can't sell for lower than we bought it for. And same thing for if you don't do a min bottle or if it's bottle to case with a retailer, same thing. They can't sell under min bottle or their cost if there is no min.
So when I guess the question is, like, if you don't have exclusivity and there's multiple people importing the same product, is the first one there to set the min bottle?
Yeah, we're also a franchise state, which means that you really, I mean, it's not exclusivity, but it's pretty much exclusivity per distributor. So unless a supplier isn't happy with their representation on the wholesale side, they pretty much stick to one supplier. If they add a supplier, it's called a dual. They have to wait 6 months, and there's all these other laws that get triggered when you start adding other wholesalers. But for all intents and purposes, we're pretty much a one wholesaler state.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's interesting. On the talking about the I forget what I was talking about. I'm sorry.
So we had the laws, and a one wholesaler state per brand, that is, not one across the state of Connecticut. But actually, I can expand on that a little bit in the wholesaler and distributor landscape. And that, because we are a smaller state, we're about 1.8% of the total consumption across the country. Which means we've got about 20 wholesalers, which might be a lot for a small state, but really at the end of the day, there's 5 or 6 of the larger national style, Connecticut Distributors is a breakthrough house. You've got Opeachy, which is large. You got Slocum, which is Eber. So you've got some of the larger guys. And then before Murphy, you just had the big guys that had these big brands. They were big, gigantic monsters in our market. And then the smaller guys that, were maybe didn't have the reach or the sales rep coverage or the trucks or the infrastructure to be able to really just manage a larger brand that would be all over the state. And so we've slowly found our niche where there's nobody occupying the middle. And that's sort of what we do. We're mid-sized. We are statewide. We operate infrastructure like the big guys, trucks on the road, next day delivery statewide, field managers, on and off premise managers, national account managers. And so we try to offer this alternative, let's say, to being with an RNDC breakthrough house or a Southern previously to us, it was them or really, a guy operating out of his car like I was 14 years ago. And so we kind of occupy the space where we can give time and attention to every brand in our portfolio. And I think that's helped.
Yeah, no, I would think so. So I was thinking, so you talked about the business intelligence of how your reps, when you go into a store, you really help them figure out, what do you need? We're not just selling you 20 vodkas that you don't need or 20 wines. We figure out exactly which wine. On the other side of that is you have 2,000 SKUs. What advice, let's talk about the wineries that you represent, the craft distilleries. How do they stay present in your portfolio, or how can they, what do you wish they knew that they could help you do your job better?
Yeah, no, really great question. So we do a lot in terms of, like you just said, trying to manage our customers' businesses and figuring out what's working, what's not, finding holes or seeing if there's things that aren't turning over and figuring out why. Maybe it wasn't the right product. Let's try this. Let's try that. But you're right. We do manage a lot of SKUs. We manage on a general market portfolio a little under 600 SKUs. So we try to break that down from the 2,000. But then within those 600, that's still a lot. And so what we do is we try to give rolling 30 and 60-day coverage over the course of like 50 to 100 brands or SKUs. And so if we could theoretically hit 75 to 80% of our total portfolio over the course of 4 months, then that's a win for us, right? So and then we further separate that into categories. new products for our sales reps, right? So there's the box. Our focus items, so the items that we're going to focus on outside of those new items for the month or 60 days. And then within that, what block of those are going to be week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4. Then within that, we have, because we're a case 1 state, every month prices are being discounted or full boat. And so then we'll have the second section where we always have discounted products every month. So then we have a slew of items that are then discounted. So when a sales rep walks into a customer, it's not, here's hundreds of items. It's, here's our new products. Here's what we're focusing on and why we think it would work for you. Here's the items that are discounted that can offer you more margin this month. Here's our items that are end of vintage or inventory reduction. And now we've gone through a full sales presentation, covered every aspect of our book, and left hopefully the customer with not only an order, but sizable amount of cases that are going to go and then be annuities for us. We're going to follow it up with tastings, support, POS, education, wait staff and bar education if it's a restaurant. So the sale isn't done there. The sale is not even close to being done. It takes another couple months to establish that brand in that account, but that's sort of the process and how we sort of break down the larger SKU count.
Sure. So this might be a silly question. I've worked on the importing side of things, not so much on the distribution side. So everything that you all are doing, is that fairly typical for distributors, or are you kind of, off on your own by offering all of that support to your clients?
You mean in how we sort of package it?
Yeah. Offering bar support and sales classes and,
that's a really good question. I would say that we're probably a little bit of both, in terms of it's what other people are doing and some things we're doing that others aren't. And, as you probably heard from the story, I had zero experience in this industry.
Right.
I never worked for another importer or wholesaler or wine shop before. And so everything that I'm doing and everything that we're doing as a company is, previous to bringing on experienced people that worked at other places, was what I thought people should be doing. I look at Zappos and it's like, look, we're here for you. If you don't like it, send it back, kind of thing. And so that's what we're here. We're not trying to push the next Ciroc flavor to our customers across the state. We're saying, okay, we've got a vodka. Will this work for you? Maybe, maybe not. But we're very selective in what our portfolio is. We're very in tune with what our market needs are. And so half that battle is done with just selecting the product. It checks the packaging box. It checks the supply box. It checks the marketing box, the margin for the customer. And so we've done a lot of the homework. So when we get to the customer, it's just getting it across that finish line. But a lot of that stuff was developed from me being in the market as a salesman when I started the business, just hearing my customers' complaints. What's working for you? What's not? What do you love about the industry? What do you dislike about the industry? How could I make your life easier? Well, instead of dropping off a bottle of vodka, maybe you can teach my staff about it. So when they go to a table, they know why the new gin in my martini tastes like this. So that sort of stuff.
As far as the lingo, again, so you've got your customers, which would be the wine stores, the retailers, and the restaurants. How do you refer to the people that you represent?
So my suppliers.
They're the suppliers.
My supplier partners, yeah.
So on the supplier partners that you're helping, educate, you're helping move their goods and you're providing a good service to them. On the supply side, how can the suppliers maximize their relationship with you?
Yeah, I think that when you're a supplier, I think it's really important to understand that the sale, like my sale doesn't end the minute a buyer from one of our customers says yes. That's just the beginning. When we say yes to a brand or a supplier, I think it's really important to understand that is when the work begins. And we are, yes, we're a wholesaler. Yes, we have salesmen on the ground presenting the products, but we can only do so much. We can give you points of distribution. You're a brand, you want to come in, we believe in the brand, and check the boxes. We're going to go out and we'll get you to restaurants and retailers around the state one time, right? But if it doesn't pull through, if they're not supporting tastings or demos or going into a bar with us and helping out with cocktail menus or revamping and teaching the mixologists, it's just going to sit there.
Yes.
And so I like to say to people, my job is to educate and get it around. But your job is to make sure that pulls through the consumer. They know who brand X is, and they want to try brand X. And then the quality is in the package, right? They try it once. If they don't buy it again, then that's not my problem. But if you want them to try it and buy it and then continue to buy it, and then you have a loyal customer for life. That's the part that we can't do. And so if you just look at the branding, I'm not saying they got to go out and spend marketing dollars like Anheuser-Busch, but they do need to understand that the sale starts once the distributor says yes. We will get you points of distribution. It's their job to support the brand on a direct to consumer marketing side.
The follow through, the follow up,
all of that. I mean, look, if we come out with an Irish whiskey, I'll tell you right now, our two biggest competitors are Tullamore Dew or Jameson, and they're in every Irish bar in the state of Connecticut. And so, what are we going to do? Oh, well, just give it to them at a dollar better price. They'll all buy it. Maybe they might all buy it if they like the product and they like us. But then it's going to sit on a back bar, and then they're going to be pissed. And now I'm going to walk in, and they're going to say, I'm not going to buy something else until you tell me what I'm going to do with this thing. And so that's what we avoid at all costs is that roadblock, because that is a self-inflicted wound.
Yeah, it's that averting that once they get on your list, their problems are solved. It's really the work. There's a lot of work that they've got to distinguish themselves with the competing brands and show that differentiation point.
Yep.
Speaking of your list, what do you have criterias that you like when a brand is coming to you that you are looking for or that you will take in? I mean, I presume you just won't take any brand in, correct?
We say no every day a lot. Yeah.
Yeah. So what are some big things that you're looking for that when a new brand is coming to you that is important to you to then take on this brand?
Yeah. So immediately packaging, pricing, and quality, and then support. Those are the four big ones before we even will review, right? And check those boxes, and then we get to step 2. Culture. Is there a fit? Are their expectations in our market aligned with our expectations for the brand in our market? Someone might say, I want 10,000 cases year one. And we might say, you're lucky if you're going to do 1,000, and so there's a disconnect. And so it's really making sure that our suppliers' expectations are aligned with ours. So at the end of the year, no one's saying, what the F happened over here. And then setting up milestones, making sure that the suppliers are organized where they can set up milestones to continue to build the brand, support the brand in the market. And then lastly, does it fit our portfolio? And, we don't typically look at our portfolio and say, we have a hole here, we have a hole here. Oh crap, we need Cremant. We have one Cremant. We need all 4 regions of Cremant. It doesn't work like, that would be great, but we're so hyper focused on who we work with that we sort of just kind of set our feelers out. People come to us, we go to people, and if things align, then we bring them on. And that's sort of the process.
That's awesome.
Well, I'd like to shift focus for a second and talk about your foundation and how it fits into the business. And it looks like such a great cause.
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, so it's the Murphy Foundation. And it officially became a 501c3 charity a couple years ago. But before that, it was founded when we were hit with the crazy hurricanes, Sandy specifically.
Oh, yes.
It demolished our coast, demolished a lot of my customers' towns, and left people without water and electricity for months. It was very tough in Connecticut after those hurricanes, and it was one year after the other. And so I wanted to help, but also wanted to keep my business. And so I developed a plan with my sales manager at the time. It was called Buy Wine, Help Connecticut. And the whole point was, if a customer, I think it was a month, spent a certain amount of dollars with us, it was low, then we would sponsor a family in need in their name, in their town. So they would get all the credit. All they had to do was buy product from us. Buy some wine for me, buy some vodka for me. And we'll work with Child and Family Services, work with the homeless shelters, and we'll sponsor a family, whatever they need. So they would give us wish lists. We need diapers or formula or pillows or sheets. And so we would do that. We target a family, we donate, and then we donate in the name of our customer. And then we'd send certificates out, and it was just a really nice way to get involved in the community, help out, and also give our customers some recognition.
Yeah.
And so that spawned the Murphy Foundation. And when I started the Murphy Foundation, it was for that reason, to help families. And about 5.5 years ago, my godson and nephew was born, Max, and he was diagnosed with Duchenne muscular dystrophy. And when he was diagnosed with that, it was very tough on the family. And we set all our sights. We're a family where we don't just accept stuff. In when you have Duchenne muscular dystrophy, it's a terrible disease for young boys, and it basically starts impacting them around age 7. And there's no cure for it. It's muscle degeneration, and there's no cure, and it's just awful. So we were not going to accept the fact that my godson Max was just going to get therapeutics when he turned 7 for the rest of his life. We were going to find a cure. And so we started doing that. And so everything got set to raising money through the Murphy Foundation for Max and his family, and research. And we linked up with an organization called Cure Rare Disease, started by a young man, Rich Horgan, who had just finished his fellowship at Harvard. And he's in his late 20s now. His older brother was diagnosed, and he was the same way. He wanted to find a cure. And so he established this foundation, and now we're sponsoring labs at Yale University in Connecticut. And we are finding a cure to Duchenne muscular dystrophy in children for the first time in the history of the world. Last year, they took Terry, who's Rich's oldest son. He's patient 0. Max is the next one in line. And took his cells and cured Duchenne muscular dystrophy for him in a petri dish. The first time it's ever happened in the world.
Amazing.
And so now it's going through FDA approval. It's at its final stage to get dosed into a human. And I am happy to say this year, after 5.5 years of gruesome hard work, of wine dinners and golf events and Murphy Foundation promoting, and millions of dollars that we have been through the community that we've been so fortunate to have. We funded this foundation that is now in lab in Yale, New Haven, has found a cure. And it'll be put into human for the first time this year in Terry, and then hopefully into my godson Max next year. And it is going to revolutionize the way that this disease has impacted the world. And we can't be more excited about it.
That's unbelievable. That's so fantastic. Where can people find out more about the Murphy Foundation?
You can go to curerareddisease.com.
Okay.
You can also go to murphydistributors.com and go on the Murphy Foundation, and it'll have a link to Cure Rare Disease. You can Google Cure Rare Disease, CRD, or Rich Horgan, and you can see where we are in the process. You can donate $5 if you want, whatever it is. But we are at Duchenne is a genetic disease, so every person that is diagnosed with it is different. So we're using CRISPR technology to gene edit, and every person is different. But we have the foundation and we have the technology to be able to do that. And so now, hopefully, we'll be able to get boys before they even start seeing signs, and they'll never know they had this terrible disease. And that's the goal.
Is this only in males?
Only in males.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, it's so amazing that starting with selling your car leads to such a tremendous outcome, that Murphy Distributors could give such a platform for this to occur.
It's unbelievable. And I have to say, the community has been unbelievable. Our suppliers and our customers have been great, because we've raised money through brands, through depletions, and saying sales goals, and say every $5 this month goes to Max and the family, and people have really rallied behind us, and it's just an unbelievable feeling.
Well, that's fantastic.
You're the definition of don't give up on your dreams, man.
Never.
We talk about dreams. I mean, you're about to achieve one of the biggest ones that you've set out. What's next for Murphy Distributors?
Is to continue making the mark in the community. I mean, it's all about our community, bringing people together, giving back And that's what it's all about. You know, my dream is to create this business for my family, for my kids, and so that we can continue to be a family and a name and a company that is established and rooted in our community and known for giving back and a place that people want to be.
That's fantastic. That's fantastic. It's kind of hard to move off of that. I mean, it's such a great goal and so much success there. So, Matt, so as we're kind of getting towards the end of this, is there something that we haven't asked you about that you'd like to talk about?
I don't think so at this point. I think, you know, for us, one of the reasons why I came on here is because, you know, I saw some of the interviews that you did and they were unbelievable. I think you have a great program, and congratulations to you and your success with the podcast. It's awesome. And, you know, for us, I just want to get the name out there, let people know that there are good people in this industry that are trying to, you know, make a name for themselves. You know, I had zero experience and wasn't in the industry previously. And we're just trying to be a company that people want to work with. They feel good working with. And at the end of the day, when they look at their P&L, you know, they say, wow, I started working with Murphy, and all of a sudden, you know, look at these margins, look, you know, look at our profits. And so I take a position in business that, you know, when I started my business, I was the only one in the business, and I was able and fortunate enough to choose who I work with. And so that's sort of where we still are. We're very fortunate. We get to choose our suppliers, our customers to an extent as well. And anyone that we work with, we want to have a deep relationship with, because it is a partnership. We're in this together. We're trying to move products from A to B, but at the end of the day, make some money and represent quality products and quality people.
One more question regarding to the people. Can anybody from any state come to you with their product, or do they strictly need to be in your area?
Any state can come to us. Anyone, anywhere. Foreign, domestic, and abroad.
Awesome.
That is awesome. So, Matt, as we approach the end, I always ask, what shout outs would you like to give, or anybody you want to give recognition to? Who most right now in the industry?
It's cheesy, but my family, you know, I wouldn't be anywhere without them. My wife is one of the strongest people I know, and you know, keeps me going when you have those down days or down weeks. She's the one that, you know, gets me going, is the rock of the family and keeps us all moving in the right direction. Couldn't do it without her. Both my parents, my mother and my father, who both in their own rights have their own businesses, small businesses in the town, and have shown me, you know, the value of not only owning your own business, but giving back and respecting the community. And I would say that's it. And then my father-in-law, who's been an unbelievable advisor to me, who owns a business also, mid-sized business also in the state of Connecticut. A person to bounce ideas off. I don't have partners. It's only me, so as the owner. So as an advisor, my father-in-law, Don, my mother, Camille, my father, Dan, and my wife, most importantly, Whitney.
Yeah, I love that. I can relate.
Yeah.
Being the sole owner of a marketing company, sometimes you're an island. And you got to have that network. Yep,
for sure. That you trust.
Yes. So Matt, where can people find out more about you and Murphy Distributors?
So I would encourage everyone to go to our website. All our information is on there. Our phone number. I'm always accessible. Pick up the phone, call the office, ask for Matt. I'll be here. And they can read about us online. And if they have any questions, email me, matthew@murphydist.com, or pick up the phone and give me a call. Love to meet you.
Sounds great. Well, Matt, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me. Really appreciate it.
You have a great day.
Thank you too. Thank you, Bianca.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to the Legends Behind the Craft podcast. We'll see you again next time, and be sure to click subscribe to get future episodes.